From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm Vasilios. That is Sean Fazan. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You can find us wherever you listen to and watch your podcast. And if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that little bell notification button. You get notified whenever we upload a new podcast. Sean, we are just a couple days out from the Saints kicking off the 2023 NFL season. Today was their final practice before the game. What did you see? Just initial thoughts before we really get into the meat of it.
Well, it's a Friday before a Sunday game. It's sort of the haze in the barn type situation. They've gone through their game plan. They've gone through first down, second down, third down, special teams, red zone, all that stuff. And generally speaking, Friday, when practice is done, this is kind of a little bit of a breather for them before their Saturday evening meetings where they stay in the hotel, and whether it's home or away, they stay in a hotel the night before a game, and then obviously they get in to their Sunday game day routine. Friday is also the day we get the final injury report. This is something that, everyone obviously pays attention to. Everyone obviously looks at and wants to know what's happening. And, look, Kendre Miller hadn't practiced all week. At least I know, did he practice today? Officially, he did not practice today. Still dealing with that hamstring, but he's technically listed as questionable. But look, that is a rookie running back with no practice time heading into week one. He may technically be listed as questionable, but man, that would be asking a lot to all of a sudden have that kid play his first ever game with no practice. And obviously, Traquan Smith and JT Gray are out. Traquan Smith's been out for a long time. I have no idea what's happening with that. He hadn't practiced all week. And then obviously JT Gray, who's one of the best special teamers on the team, he's out as well for Tennessee. You have Harold Landry questionable, Dylan Redun's questionable, but they both practiced fully today. And Trey Avery, the cornerback, is out. Those are the only ones that are listed on the injury report with any kind of injury designation. So, look, this is going to fluctuate all week, and this is always something. Every single team in the NFL thinks they have it the worst when it comes to injuries. But generally speaking, in week one, most teams are in a decent spot. So with only 3 guys officially out on both teams appear to be fairly healthy going into a week one matchup that has a lot of different layers to it. And it should be a great matchup on Sunday inside the Superdome.
So the other day we talked about the suspension to third-string quarterback Jake Haener. It's kind of left some folks wondering about who's going to be behind Jameis Winston, barring any sort of catastrophic event in this Week 1 game. Taysom Hill, anyone?
How's that looking? He's been officially listed at quarterback, which the only way this makes sense is if Taysom is the in-game 2. Because that allows him to do everything else.
Right, we talked about this the other day, right?
And then Jameis Winston is now the emergency 3 who can only play if both guys ahead of him get hurt. Now, what this obviously also allows you to do, with Jameis getting the bonus spot, Taysom getting the quarterback spot, you get one other player that can come up. You can get one other player up. You can call one other player up from another spot. So that appears on the surface what the Saints have done here with the Jake Haener situation, how they've kind of manipulated the numbers at certain positions, because it would make absolutely no sense to have Taysom Hill as your emergency quarterback and completely not let him get on the field in any way, shape, or form, other than if Carr and Winston in a hypothetical situation both had to exit the game. That makes no sense. Taysom's still a playmaker. They still want the ball in Taysom's hands. They still want him on the field. So this is the only way that this makes sense, because when I initially heard it, I'm like, well, why would they hamstring themselves with that? It didn't even dawn on me, and I was talking to Deuce and Juan at the time. We were having a discussion on set for Black and Gold Review, and we're like, we got to do some research on this. But that makes all the difference in the world. That makes all the sense in the world. Your in-game backup is going to be Taysom. In-game 3 is going to be Jameis, and God forbid something happens. The next game, you would probably reshuffle it, or maybe you'd stay in that pecking order of Taysom, James. Who knows? But that's you don't want that situation to happen, because you don't want Derek Carr obviously to get banged up. So that was certainly an interesting development this week. But kind of a shrewd, I guess you call it heads up move on the Saints' part to get an extra player up that can certainly help you in certain spots. And it also goes to show you once again how much the value and how much the versatility of Taysom Hill provides value for the entire organization. Because who knows who that extra player can be or will be, and now you have him when before you couldn't have. So I think all in all, I guess it makes sense for the Saints, despite the situation with Jake Haener being something that they weren't. None of us caught us all off guard, but it, as they say, is what it is, and he'll be gone for the first 6 weeks of the season.
So earlier this offseason, we talked about this being Dennis Allen's team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would he be on the hot seat if in his second year? Maybe wouldn't have as much success in the opening part of the season. Do you think maybe the team starts to look in other directions when it comes to a head coach, or do you think he has a little bit of leeway here?
Okay, let me just define it like this. Hot seat going into a season means a coach going into a year that could be fired. That's not the case. That's not the case with the Saints. The Saints, and I have spoken with a couple of members of the Saints organization who feel like this year they have given Dennis Allen what he needs to be successful. Mm-hmm. They want him to be successful. They do not want to be in the business of hiring and firing coaches. They want him to have success as New Orleans Saints head coach. Why wouldn't they? They've invested a lot in him, and he's a guy they've watched basically grow up in the coaching ranks here. So by the technical term hot seat, he's not on the hot seat. I don't know if he's on any of those lists that they all these guys nationally put out there. That's really just guys, oh, this guy did bad last year, maybe he's on the hot seat. He's not on the hot seat. It would take an epic collapse of massive proportions for him to get fired in year two. A, I don't think they want to see him, they want to see him succeed. B, you don't generally do that. You don't generally fire a guy after 2 years, especially coming off a 7-10 season. Now, if he goes from 7-10 to 8-9, it would be disappointing, but he's not getting fired, guys. He's not. Now, if they go 7-10 to 2-15, then the discussion must be had, especially with what I just said. They feel like they have given, or they last year they wasn't quite right in terms of what the head coach needed to be successful, and this year they feel like they have given him enough to be successful. And Dennis Allen, for his part, feels like they have as well. That's why you're sensing the confidence. Now, there's a difference between not being on the hot seat and having something to prove. Dennis Allen is not on the hot seat. He does have something to prove. Let's not kid ourselves.
No.
His resume is what his resume is. It ain't good. It ain't good. And look,
head coaching resume.
The Raiders situation was a long time ago, but it's still on his resume. Last year, he went 7-10. It was a middle of the road to below average season. So it's not good enough. So does he have something to prove? Absolutely, he has something to prove as head coach in the NFL, but specifically as head coach of the New Orleans Saints. But I will say this, his mindset has been one of ready to tackle on the challenge, certainly not weighed down by any outside factor in terms of win-loss record and what could or couldn't happen if they don't get the job done. But I do think there is a little bit of, we need to see it from you too, Dennis Allen. We need to see you have some success as head coach, and especially now with both sides coming together with the roster and the coaching staff. And as we've always said, this is now officially Dennis Allen's team. The former head coach is no longer hanging over the organization, which was a bigger deal than anybody wanted to admit last year. Now it's kind of a refresh. It's almost like this is his first year.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's almost like this is his first year. Yeah, he has something to prove, and I think he knows that. And I think he wants to do that. He wants to be the guy that says, no, I am not the coach I was. I am going to be the coach of this version of New Orleans Saints, and we are going to win games. And that's why you're getting such a confident tone from him and really the entire organization.
All right, getting into this weekend's game against the Tennessee Titans, I want to get your score prediction for this game.
Well, I ended up, you'll see this Sunday on Fox 8 Live Tailgate, my sit-down this week is with Saints tight end Juwan Johnson,
nice,
who's a great interview. But it was one of those, I asked him again, I said, on the outside looking in, it feels like the vibe is strong. He goes, I've never felt a vibe like this ever in my career, ever. Then I asked him again. He goes, man, I was just talking in practice. We're just clicking right now. Like, you can tell there is a genuine excitement. And you have to watch the full interview to see everything he says. A genuine excitement. Not nerves, not excitement. And kind of bursting at the seams to want to get this thing started. It's almost like you got to pull back a little. You don't want to you don't want to have over excitement, because sometimes that can lead to adrenaline being too much, and sometimes just drains your energy. So that's really the challenge right now. But there is absolutely no denying this team has a genuine excitement about where they are. And I said last week, maybe we're selling them short a little bit because I said 10-7. I'm starting to get on the side of maybe I should go 11-6 or 12-5. But back to the task at hand, week 1 against the Titans, I'm not feeling that same level of excitement from Tennessee. But they do have some players. It's not going to be easy. This will be a great, great matchup because they got a veteran quarterback that's different than Derek Carr, but kind of in his prime, maybe in the same tier as Derek Carr.
Yeah.
At times.
Maybe just average.
Seems to operate that offense. He is perfectly fine being that guy. They'll let the running back take over, and I'll take my shots when I have to off of play action. He don't need to prove it to anybody. So I've always liked Tannehill. I don't think he's quite an explosive quarterback. I think the Saints are not going to let Derrick Henry beat him. They're just not. And I think offensively, the somewhat of the unknown of Derek Carr in this offense to the outside world, I think is going to catch Tennessee off guard. All that to say, I like the Saints to win by a touchdown.
All right, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, give me yours.
I'm gonna say that Saints are gonna win by 2 scores.
2 scores.
2 scores.
You're more confident than me.
I don't know. I like the vibe too, and I think the offense is going to come out firing on all cylinders. And if they don't, then there's definitely something wrong. But the energy is palpable. You definitely got to take what you can get if you're the Saints, and they're going to absolutely take what they're going to get. So
I love it. I think the Saints come away 1-0 Sunday inside the Superdome against the Tennessee Titans. One of the tougher opponents on their schedule, for being honest. I didn't realize they were 7-3 and lost all 7. The final games last season.
It was bad. 7
straight to close it. That is limping to the finish line.
Yeah, and I want to say Derrick Henry missed that second half of the season where they lost all those games too, if I'm not mistaken. So he really is the engine that makes that team go. But let's move to the college ranks for a minute here.
Let's do it.
And let's talk about the LSU Tigers going against Grambling this week. Can they get back on track here, Sean? Obviously, Grambling isn't Florida State, but does LSU kind of need this to kind of center themselves?
Yes. And I have no doubt they will regroup. I know it's been a hard week for everyone associated with LSU. Anger, just confusion, just bad vibes all the way around. That's what happens when you get punched in the mouth by a team like Florida State. That's just what happens. But the loss last year against Florida State, they rallied after that. And Brian Kelly was not afraid to make significant personnel shifts after that. I remember Garrett Dellinger was the center in that Florida State game last year. He was not the center after that. Cam Wire was starting at right tackle. He was not the starter after that. All that to say, I think Harold Perkins is going to be moved around a little bit. I don't think he's going to be boxed in. And the more I think about that, the more I'm wondering, did the Perkins camp want that? They're so outward with the whole draft thing. We got to look at his draft stock, and he's still got another year in Baton Rouge. It was like, was that on LSU's decision? Because BK doesn't talk about anybody else like that when it comes in terms of their draft status or developing them for the NFL. Right. Neither here nor there. But I think you're going to see a shift there. I think you're going to see a shift inside the personnel, in the secondary as well, maybe even at wide receiver. Big picture, they're going to win this game. We know that. Mm-hmm. You know, if they want to score 70, they'll score 70.
No offense to Grambling.
Yeah, if they want to score 50, they'll score 50. If they want to, who do you want to get in? Anybody that wants to get in, they're going to get in. We know that. That's fine.
Yeah, and
hang on, let me finish that. I was taking a sip of my tea. I'm back on the tea kick now. It used to be my thing right before I go on set, drink a lot of tea, but then I stopped, so now I'm back on it. But the larger point I wanted to make was they're going to regroup. They're going to rally. They're going to go on a run. I still think this is a 10-win team.
Sure.
But I'm feeling like this is going to be more in line with the 2001 LSU Tigers, 2006 LSU Tigers, 2018 LSU Tigers. 01 was Saban's first year. A little bumpy to start. They ended up winning the SEC, going to the Sugar Bowl. I think they played Illinois that year. It was like ended up finishing like 10-3. 06, some would argue, was a better team than the 07 team that won the national championship. Again, they had 1 or 2 losses that year. Tough losses. Jamarcus Russell was the quarterback. They got to the Sugar Bowl and dominated. I think it was Notre Dame back in 06. It was Les Miles' second year. 2018, if you recall, was Ed Orgeron's second full season. Is that correct? Yeah, his second full season at LSU was probably, no one wants to admit this because, you can't give Ed Orgeron any credit about anything anymore, but I thought that was his best coaching job because it was the first year he had Burrow. There was a lot of shakiness around the program. Well, they ended up rallying and getting to the Fiesta Bowl and winning the Fiesta Bowl. They beat, was it Central Florida?
I can't remember.
Yeah, it was the game where Burrow got hit, and then that sprung them to, kind of into the momentum of the offseason and into the 2019 season. That was magical. This season kind of feels more in line with those seasons as opposed to a national championship type season. And Brian Kelly kind of hinted at it earlier in the offseason when he said year 2, still building. Year 3 is when you're kind of ready to compete for a national title. That's where I feel like this team will eventually settle in. It'll end up being a very, very, very good year, but not a national championship season. I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong in the way that they do better than I'm expecting. I certainly don't want to see them do worse, but I think that's where it's going to end up settling in for LSU this year.
I don't know, man. He's got to kind of fall in line with the other LSU coaches and in their second years with Kim Mulkey and Jay Johnson and win that title in the second year.
Second year currently, but second year of LSU coaches since Nick Saban has always been this type of season. I knew that people were going to do that, and that was going to be a mistake. Like, well, Kim Mulkey did it, and Jay Johnson did, so now Brian Kelly's got to do it. I'm like, this is if that's the realistic expectation. Whew. I think that's what Brian Kelly was throwing water on with that earlier in the offseason. Then they had the first game like that. Oof, no good.
All right, so heading uptown now. Talk about a team that actually won their first game last week. I just hit that.
It's okay.
But, so going against Ole Miss this week. Michael Pratt, we don't really know if he's 100% going into this game. What are your thoughts about Tulane against Ole Miss?
First off, love the build-up. The buzz, it's sold out. Willie Fritz is saying people calling him is the toughest ticket in town to get. This is a marquee matchup. It's a 2 top 25 teams. Other than Texas and Alabama, I think this is the only top 25 matchup all year, all weekend. I know they got A&M and Miami. I don't know if that's 2 top 25 teams. But I'm looking forward to this game.
So
I'm really looking forward to this game. I'm not going to it, but couldn't get a ticket if I wanted to.
Try asking Willie Fritz.
The way Ole Miss is built, they're the type of SEC team that I think Tulane can contend with. I think even Lane Kiffin understands that because Ole Miss is not quite as deep as the rest of the SEC in terms of the line of scrimmage, and I think Tulane's line of scrimmage can probably keep up with that line of scrimmage, especially early in the season. And then there's skill on the outside. Now, the key is obviously Michael Pratt's health. If he is Michael Pratt that we saw in week 1, they got a real shot. But I like Ole Miss's quarterback too, Jackson Dart. So this could be a game where there's a lot of points scored. A lot of points scored, a very exciting game uptown. I'm feeling upset. Let's just call it right now. I'm feeling upset. I said they were going to cover on, overtime show we did on Tuesday. I'm calling upset. Let's do it. Tulane defeats Ole Miss at home this weekend at Ullman Stadium. It should be a crazy game uptown.
Love the optimism. Pratt worries me, but I mean he always plays through being banged up and everything like that. But they're also missing their linebacker who had 15 tackles last week, so that's going to be
that is going to hurt. Well. That is going to hurt, and that only adds to there's going to be a lot of points in this game.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure what Ole Miss is defense still optional with Ole Miss.
I think so.
It's been that way for a while. I got to call Deuce about that one, see what's going on with their defense. So.
All right. Well, any last thoughts as we head into week 1 of the
Another
NFL
great weekend. How good was the NFL game last night?
Oh,
that was awesome, huh? The Fighting Man Campbells, Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions, outlast Kansas City. The season is here. Both emerge. College and pro merge together, where it's going to be
a beautiful weekend.
A fun stretch. This would be a fantastic weekend, and I'm looking forward to a fun stretch of football and talking all about it on Monday morning again right here on this Fox 8 Overtime podcast. Take us home.
Well, you heard Sean. This is the Fox 8 Overtime podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You can find us wherever you listen to and watch your podcast. For him and me, it's been the Fox 8 Overtime podcast. We'll catch you guys next time.